So today we're going to be covering the Dogs and Storks program. I welcome every one of you. I'm so grateful that you are here and taking time out of your busy day. This is an hour and a half, so I do anticipate it taking the full time, just because we have a whole lot of material to cover. So this presentation is usually done in person through one of our licensed educators. So when we're able to do it that way, it is a lot more productive because we're able to use props and make it much more exciting and do some activities with our attendees. Um, if at any time I get muted, unknown to myself, please one of you unmute yourself and say, "Jen, we can't hear you." Because it is sometimes when I move the cursor around that is possible to happen. If you need to walk away and do something for a minute or so, hopefully not for the whole time because I'll miss you. Um, we are recording, and you will get a recording of this following our session. So please feel free to get up and do what you need to do, should that be important. Um, all right. So this is Oliver. He's one of my guys, and this would be Miss Sadie, Sadie Lady, who is our most recent addition. She's an 8-year-old AM staff and has been a wonderful addition to our family. And I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. So those are just some of my guys. So this is the Dogs and Storks program, and we've been providing this program since 2002. This is the updated version. I'm so excited to share it with you. It's a little new to me too, which is so much fun because the old one was something that I was very familiar with and had been using it for many years. So I'm Jen Shryock. I am a certified dog behavior consultant. I have a degree in special education. I have 4 children, ages, well, I can't even say children anymore, right? Because they're getting to be adults. But ages 21, Andrew, my oldest, David's turning 20 this month, Kaylee is 16, and Kelsey is 8, just turned 8. So we've got a large family, and I've got my wonderful husband, Joe, who's very tolerant and has put up with the many, many, many foster dogs and cats that we've shared our lives with to learn and continue growing and expanding our knowledge in dog behavior and cat behavior. So bless this man because he has put up with a whole lot in more ways than one. So, um, okay, so just a little bit about this. This presentation is intended for educational purposes only. All right. So there is no guarantee, either expressed or implied, that use of this material will prevent your dog from doing harm to you, your children, or others. Always supervised dogs, we'll talk about that word, and children. Family pause assumes no liability for any injury to persons or property that may result from use of this information. So, this is an educational program. If you are interested after and would like more of a private consultation or information, we can either hook you up with one of our licensed educators who has their own private business and can offer a consultation in your home, or we also do offer some online opportunities as well that are also extremely helpful for ongoing support. Family Pause Parent Education offers 2 programs. The reason we do this is because this is a specialty. The niche of dog and baby and dog and toddler is a specialty, and we believe it needs to be recognized as such. So we offer 2 programs, Dogs and Storks, and then we also encourage our families to continue onward with continuing through the toddler phase. As your baby grow, your dog's aging, things change at every single stage. And it's really, really, really important that we allow ourselves the opportunity to learn more about that. Um, a lot of us grew up with kids and dogs, or a lot of us grew up as kids with dogs, but being a parent with a dog is a completely different thing. And that was something that was a pretty harsh lesson for myself. And that's why I bring you this information. Um, so I grew up in a home with 6 dogs. I showed dogs, trained dogs, I knew dogs. No, I didn't. And I will never stop learning about dogs. The one thing I can guarantee you about animals and children is you never stop learning. There's always more to learn, and we're here to support you through that. So, as a new parent, don't expect too much of yourself. Be kind to yourself and reach out for support and help, and we're here to guide you.
Hey, Jen,
Yep.
I think Laura can't hear us with sound. I don't know if you have suggestions for her.
She probably has to log out, log back in.
Okay, thank you.
And it's probably her internet thing. Thank you, Lisa. Jen too. Okay. All right. So to go ahead and get started, and thank you for letting me know that. I'm not able to see the chat. So Lisa, if you could continue to be the monitor, that would be excellent. Thank you so much. Um, what we're going to cover today, because I get on a roll and we really need to with an hour and a half. Usually this program is 2 hours. Okay. So usually, just so you know, so I'll do my best to cut it down, but I will speed talk. So I hope that's okay. Um, what we're going to cover today is communication, dog communication. The first part of the program may not be things that you would necessarily think about ahead of time or anticipate needing to know. And that's why we want to bring this to you, is because we want you to be thinking about some things that maybe you haven't already. We're going to talk about dog senses and manners, preparation, and then homecoming. So, it's really common for everybody can see the screen, right? I just want to make sure. Yay, nay, yes, unmute. Lisa, you can. Okay, okay, good. Thank
Yes,
you.
I
All
can
right.
see it.
All right, good. Just wanted to be sure. That would not be good. Okay, so most birth centers, hospitals, or wherever you are, most places that provide education, they offer a wide range of classes and educational materials from baby wearing to breastfeeding and sibling classes and things like that. But one of the things that we would like to see normalized and out there, and we're doing our very best to do this and improve this all over the world, is that it is just commonplace. Ideally, we'd have our program in every location, but we would like education about dogs and babies and even pets and babies. And what that means, what kind of changes, what are the right expectations. Just like siblings have a little class that helps them to prepare, we believe very strongly that our animal companions really would appreciate if there was something geared towards them. And that's our goal and intention with this program, is to bring that idea to the forefront of people's minds and help them to know that they're not alone if they have questions or concerns, and that there are those in this field that do specialize. Now, their dog training and dog professionals all have a wide range of expertise and experience, but really, Family Paws is the first organization to specifically focus on just baby and dog and toddler dynamics and interaction within the family. Um, so we encourage you to visit our site and check out our educators for that particular niche. We do feel strongly that it needs an extra focus. Um, so our furry family members really are missing out on a lot of different new technology, right? They don't have an app that is geared towards them that they can use and use with their nose to indicate what's happening, what they can expect when their mom or family's expecting. They really don't have access to that. So it's up to us to help guide our animals and guide our uh, dogs through this process as we go through it ourselves. And learning how you can do that and best do that efficiently as your baby grows from infant through your pregnancy, but then infancy, and then through toddlerhood is really our goal. And that's our focus. So we want to really support our furry family members, because the reality is, even though we've grown up, even though we think we, quote, know dogs, we are we have to remember that dogs are a whole different species. They have their own way of communicating that they understand. How unfair is that, right? So they can give each other the look and they'll know what that means, but we might miss it. We might not even recognize it, see it, or think whatever. I swear my dogs go, oh God, that she did that again, or mom's weird, or. So they have their own way to communicate, just like we do. Body language is really important. And when you think about this, it's actually really beautiful. And I love this because no matter what country you're from, no matter where you are, I can guarantee that your infant is going to behave as an infant through their body language, their nonverbal communication. Okay. And your dog is going to communicate as a solid dog. And there are some patterns and consistencies that often families do not recognize or are not familiar with that are so subtle, they never see it. And that is what you're going to learn a little bit about, just a tiny bit about today. That with a little bit of knowledge, you can really help prevent some of those out of the blue. I'm sure many of you have heard someone say, "Oh my gosh, we just don't know. Out of the blue, he did this. He just lost it." Reality is that most of the time the dog was communicating as he would with another dog because dogs communicate beautifully as dogs. All right. So so infants behave as infants. They communicate with crying, they change. There's a great program called the Hug program that talks about infant communication. Very helpful, very interesting, and very connected to this. So becoming an observant parent is important. So with that in mind, one of the things that I often hear and the most highly recommended suggestion to new families or anybody, any parent with children, is supervise. Supervision is absolutely a must. There's no getting around it. But if you do not know what it is you're looking at, you might be supervising a very uncomfortable situation for your dog or your child. Your interpretation of it might be really cute. And we often see this in examples on Facebook or any other social media. Okay, just pick one. You're going to see something that, oh, look, this is viral. And people like myself go, uh-oh, someone's not having fun in that image, and that really could be leading them down the wrong path and communicating something that isn't actually cute. So we want families to become dog aware. And I believe strongly that during pregnancy and grandparents and anybody getting this material is able to increase their dog aware skills because we all come with some knowledge. We're already a little bit dog aware, but we can always improve these dog aware skills so that we can improve that bond and help things become much more comfortable. So staying curious, staying observant, realizing that babies grow, dogs age, and we have to adjust what our expectations are at every stage is so critical and is part of being dog aware. So we don't want to just supervise, but we want to supervise with dog aware skills and knowledge and keep fine tuning that. And I encourage you and I challenge you to continue to do that as your baby grows. All right, so let's go ahead and practice some of the dog aware stuff, right? So, some of the odd things that dogs do that we often go, well, we often never even notice it, is they use their tongues in many different ways. Obviously, they use their tongue to lick you. If I have a mosquito bite, Oliver wants to lick it. If you're sweaty, you may have a dog that is an excessive licker. Some breeds are more known to that than others. But there's also other ways that dogs communicate with their tongue. Just like we might make mouth gestures, or we might fidget, or we might smirk, or we might do things, our dogs communicate as well. So, I'm sure you remember being in middle school or high school and looking at your friend across the room and making faces and stuff like that. Our dogs do that too. The thing is that we as humans don't understand their secret language unless we become dog aware. And so a little tongue flick might mean, hey, I need a little space, or I'm really conflicted about what's going on right there. I'm concerned, like the dog in the top left. Something's happening and I'm kind of interested, but hmm. So there's a big tongue lick. So, how much tongue, how little tongue, the circumstances and context around it. We can look at all these pictures, and these are just a glimpse in a moment in time. They're just a moment in time, but they show a that dog's response and behavior in that moment of time. So in the top right, we can see just a hint of tongue. That's often a distance increasing behavior because a dog is feeling a little bit uncomfortable and is going, really, I'd like my space. That's very common for dogs to do. And so many of us really just assume and believe and think our dogs enjoy that close contact and hugs. And some do, some absolutely do with you being a trusted adult. That does not at all mean that across the board your dog is cuddly with children or other people or shares that trust and bond and type of affection in a comfortable way with anybody else. So this is all about relationship and paying attention. So when your dog does a tongue flick or licks their lips and they haven't just eaten or haven't just gone to the water bowl or you're not baking, bacon, um, then I would ask yourself what just happened? What's going on? Is there stress? Is there conflict? What's happening in this moment that our dog might either need some space or is feeling uncomfortable? Okay, so um, or is anticipating something. A lot of dogs will lick when they're anticipating. So it's not an easy language until you become dog aware and start really paying attention to it. But your willingness to be dog aware is what is essential here. Okay. So paying attention to these licks. You want to pay attention to not only the tongue, but you want to pay attention to the ears, eyes, tail, muzzle, and look at all those clues. And I call that being a doggy detective. To me, uh, if we can educate and help our parents become doggy detectives, then they're naturally going to start modeling behavior and talking to their children, having dialogue about what they're observing about the dog. We're not just looking at the dog as a four-legged thing with fur and tail and we're going to pet it. We're going to observe what that dog's communicating and make a good, solid decision and choice based on comfort level and what that dog is communicating with us in that moment. And that's so important. So think about when your dog licks and take note to that and maybe jot down, keep a little journal or take a picture or send a video. Say, hey, Jen, you know, um, I'm not really sure in this context what this means. Here's what was going on. And I noticed this. What do you think? That's something that I really encourage people to do. I love getting body language questions. Oh my gosh, it's very exciting. Um, because it's a game, it's a puzzle, and it really is. It really the staying curious about it is really important. So here's another one. Another one many of us miss: yawning. So yawning obviously can happen at many different times. We know about the yawn when the dog's just waking up and stretching, shakes off yawns, does all that fun stuff. Okay, but there are other times that dogs yawn. And if you observe your dog giving a yawn, it's a really good time again to put on your doggy detective hat and think, what just happened? And look at the rest of what's going on. So, a lot of times, I know when I go to a family's house and I do a home visit, um, I may not necessarily behave like other guests behave. Many guests often come in and they greet the dog and they give the dog a whole lot of attention. And I don't, because I'm there to see the parents. I'm there to meet the new baby. I'm there to interact and engage with the people. So that can be a little frustrating, but it's odd behavior. So the dog, it's something different. It's out of the normal context the dog is used to with greetings and people coming through that front door. This can cause a conflict or stress or anxiety or just uncertainty, right? So dog may go and, shake off and try to get attention from me and try to get attention from other people, but then they're eventually going to go and lay down, and usually it's followed by a big old yawn. So, yawns can happen when there's uncertainty or stress, or just the dog is conflicted. You'll see dogs yawn a lot of times after when they've been playing together, and one's kind of saying, "Hey, let's chill it out a little bit. Let's just chill." My dog does this all the time. So paying attention to when that happens and just being clued in that, like, "Hey, I just noticed he yawned. I wonder why that happened." Well, maybe it's because you just put the baby swing on, and your dog is going, "Huh, not so sure about that contraption. That's a little bizarre. I've never seen a human being move like that." So really, these are things that you want to pay attention to. And the beauty of it is, when you pay attention to these tiny little signals, you really can do your best to avoid your dog having to get and accentuate their signals, which is more the ones that you and I are familiar with, like growling or biting or really reacting. So if we can catch their stress, it's kind of like diffusing them ahead of time, because we're tuning into what they're saying. We're going, "Okay, I got you. There's something going on. I'm going to help you figure that out, and we're going to deal with it." So being in it with your dog, knowing you've got their back and you're paying attention to these subtle signals, really helps decrease the chances of them escalating to a more prominent signal. I call these whispers of communication. I think I stole that from Terry Ryan, so I'll just say that I did. So Terry Ryan's awesome and has great materials as well. But it they are whispers of communication. We don't want them to get to the screams. We all know that. The growls and the bites can be screams of communication when all these whispers are unheard and are not successful for them. So thinking about it that way can be really helpful. So another area of the dog that a lot of people misinterpret or just don't gather enough of the clues, right? So as a detective, we can't solve a case with just one clue. Or I don't think most people do. I've watched enough court trials to know that. I'm sure you all have too. So you need multiple clues. You also need to pay attention to the context. You need to pay attention to everything, the environment, what's happening in that moment. Pictures are very difficult. Yes, they can give us information of that moment in time, but from one moment to the next, it can shift really quickly. So, we have to be very careful in what we see in photos. And I guarantee, if you try, all right, I promise you this, if you try to get a picture, a family portrait with children, um, yeah, you're going to have lots of variety of expressions and faces, and some that are absolutely stressed and miserable because the attention's on them. Your dog's the same way. If you try to get something in the way that it's unnatural, a photo unnatural, you're going to get uncomfortable body language. Thus, the millions of stock photos that are not ever so cute but show great body language. Um, so, this dog on the left, the tail is up high. uh Dog is definitely alerted to something, and if you were all sitting in front of me, I'd be asking you, what do you notice, what do you see? But in this format, it's a little more difficult to do that. Um and looking at that and looking at the dogs obviously paying attention to something is very squared off and ready, very curious. Eyes, you look at the eyes, you look at the muzzle. So I would definitely not want to approach that dog in that moment, because they're already very intensely focused on something else and interested. um but in the next second we can go, "Hey buddy," and that dog might go, "Oh, you, okay, cool." Oh, now my dog came over to me. Whoops. Um, so they can change from one second to the next, right? Ears, eyes, tail, muzzle, gather the clues. So tails tell a whole lot. Whether the dog is wagging its tail, you want to look at fast, slow, high, low. You want to look at all of that. What's going on? What are the eyes saying? I'll tell you what, I had a golden retriever who would wag her tail so fast and show all her teeth at the same time. And I had a garbage man that just didn't get it, no matter how many times I said to him, do not, please, do not. The garbage cans, they would come down to the yard to get the garbage cans at one point. And he'd want to reach over the fence and touch this dog. And one day I walked out there and said, are you out of your mind? Seriously, do you not see all her pearly whites? But she was wagging her tail. So, but she was anxious and she was fearful and she was not wagging her tail because she was happy. So a lot of people misinterpret tails. We know low tail. Some people know that extraordinarily high tail with a lot of hair standing up, piloerection. We know that that is a dog trying to be really big, and the low tail is almost the dog trying to be very small. Usually, like that middle photo, you'll see low tail. I've seen dogs tuck their tails all the way up to their bellies, and most people recognize the fearful tail, but a lot of times people misread whether it's a friendly, inviting tail or the dog's just hanging out. We want it to be midline, sweeping tail. Think of it as sweeping, not raised and high and excited, but relaxed and sweeping. But you want to look at their mouth too. Are they relaxed? Are their eyes soft or are their eyes hard? What is going on with that dog? So there's a lot that we can learn from those different things. So pay attention to what your dog does because in any given situation, your dog's going to use their tail as a way to communicate like they do with other dogs. So paying attention from the tip of the tail to the tip of the nose and gathering all that information along the way is a really excellent way for you to know, hmm, he's doing okay, or maybe he's a little unsure and feeling like he needs to be extra big or whatever he may be doing. So pay attention to that. Also know that a wag, real fast, low wag, is often anxious and often not so comfortable. And people misread that a lot. A lot of times dogs will wag this. I'm thinking of smaller dogs that get really, they wag, 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 wag that little tail and they're curling and curving and licking their lips and doing all this stuff. So that also can be an anxious or overly excited dog. Um, so just pay attention, be observant. All right, then we have this one here. Now, if this is an image and facial expression you see often at your house, uh, I'd really want to pay attention to what is going on at the times that you're observing this kind of behavior and this expression, because this is one of those really hard eye kind of expressions. So we reference this as whale eye or dog showing whites of the eye, but there's specific reasons why dogs do that. And usually it's they are really, really stepping up their game as far as communication and saying, no, I really mean it. Don't touch me. Um, the lip lick probably didn't work. The turn away maybe didn't work. Their tail didn't work, or maybe they're being, told to sit and stay. But this dog has what many of us jokingly call the Botox look. Everything is pulled back and tight, 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 tight. When facial features on a dog are tight, this is definitely under no circumstances an opportunity for a child to be reaching out to them. So we need to pay attention. And this is most of the photos in this presentation are through our wonderful Family Paws educator out in San Diego, Bethany Cunningham. But this is actually a stock image that was so good. And the title of it was Child's Afraid of Dog. And this child may be afraid of dog, but why are we exposing this child to this dog? It might increase the fear of dogs. And I think the kid is legitimate in being afraid of this particular dog. So paying attention to the ears, eyes, tail, muzzle. We can't see the tail here. The case yesterday when I was speaking with someone, they have a corgi who doesn't really have a tail. There are dogs that don't. That's why we need to gather all sorts of clues. Um, so that hard eye, you all know that moms are really good at giving the mom look. That's kind of how I look at it. Is it's a dog that's saying, "Really? Don't do it." I mean it. Now, That said, sometimes there can be freezing with this and other things. We see this a lot for many dogs around food bowls. It can be with guarding behavior. So a dog is, their nose is pointing and their face is pointing in one direction, but their eyes are kind of going in another direction. Sometimes a lot of people will see this around the food bowl. If so, that's something that we might want to talk about, especially if a child's on the way. All right. So here's a really good opportunity to use your doggy detective skills. And I would like someone who, we have a lot of our educators on here, family paws educators, but someone who's not a licensed family paws educator, if you would like to jump in and be brave. And what do you think of this photo? Who, who wants to play and who does not? Somebody is unmuted. Okay, so um, do we have any volunteers who would like to help me with this photo and tell me what they see? Anyone? I'll give you a minute to make the choice to unmute. Anyone, anyone?
To me, it just looks like they're playing, but the one dog is getting in the other dog's face, and he really doesn't seem to like it too much.
Right, excellent description. So is this Krista?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Krista. So what tells you the other dog may not be liking it so much? That's a really good description.
Because he has his ears back, his tongue's out, and he's turning his face away.
Yeah. So what do you notice about his eyes?
They're squinting. Like they really want to look
Yeah.
at.
Right, right, really squinting. So it is true that they might have just had a really great play session. But well, I don't want to
He's
pick on
over
boxers, but a lot of times boxers don't know when to quit. They're like the little sibling that's like, "Please, come on. I know you want to do it again. Come on." But it's true. And so this dog is going, "Really? Really? You mean it? You're done? What? I'm not done." So you can see the boxers kind of the dog on the right is kind of doing a play stance. So lowering the front paws to kind of be like, okay, come on, let's go. And still pretty aroused because even though it's a small tail, it's an upwards tail. Um, and you know, is tentative with the back legs a little bit, but is also curving its body. So it's definitely one dog is kind of going, I'm taking a breather. The other dog is kind of going, no, really, I want to continue playing. Um, and that's how I would interpret it. So well done, you got it. The other thing is the dog on the left, the dog in the back there is kind of squared off. It's kind of like more planted, with straight legs. And so a lot of dogs, when they get to that point, and that wide, wide mouth could easily lead to a lip curl. That would definitely say, yeah, no, we're not doing this. We're done. I mean it. So there's a lot of things about it. Turning away is a very effective signal and a way that dogs communicate to say, I'm done. Um, if you watch dog play quite a bit, you can notice, a lot of times they will stop and beautiful play. It when dogs play nicely, it's really a interactive, very beautiful dance because it should be reciprocated. So one dog, if they say, okay, I'm going to take a break and shake off, dogs should play, pause, and it should be reciprocated, as far as the amount of energy, pressure, and everything else that they're doing. Um, so in this situation, this boxer clearly would like to continue the play, and this dog's saying, I need a breather. And if the boxer continues, I have a really awesome picture of my Malamute Shepherd, and she finally just shows, I call it the devil dog look. She pulls back her entire face, shows all her teeth, never gets up and moves, but definitely says, no, I meant it. Um, so, this is the first step towards saying, let's take a break. And that dog may choose to re-engage very quickly, might shake off and say, okay, I'm ready to go again. But in this moment, it is a pause. So good, excellent. So looking at the entire dog, looking at the stance, ears, eyes, tail, muzzle. Are they leaning forward, back? What are they doing? The slight curve in this body here is also letting me know this dog is still in play mode versus being more on the aggressive mode. This is not where they would be straight. This is very more playful, and especially the leaning here going towards and lowering himself. So that's an invite. Come on, let's keep playing. So well done. So here's an opportunity for us to look at this. This is a video of Colleen Pilar's dog. If you do not have Colleen Pilar's book, I highly, highly recommend it. It is easy to look up. It's called Living with Kids and Dogs Without Losing Your Mind, by the way, which I think we all try to do, but sometimes we're more successful than other times. Um, it's not always an easy combination, but she makes it easier and she makes it fun. So any chance you have to read or see a webinar or see Colleen Pilar speak, I would do it. And I've known her for years, and she could talk to me the same information over and over again, and I always learn something new. So here is her dog. Now, I'm going to tell you the context of this just because it's very simple. Her son is standing on a coffee table, which is very odd human behavior. Now, this is a good example of just simple body language. So afterwards, and I might pick on you again, Krista, sorry, but you volunteered so nicely, and I want you to get the most out of this too. So let's look and see what, if you can, if you have time to jot it down, or just let me know what signals you see that this dog is giving that you know, using your doggy detective skills and being dog aware here. So this is literally like we're doing nothing. But that doing nothing can be uncomfortable. It's funny how, think about yourself when you're waiting to do something and the displacement behaviors you're going to give. I know right before speaking, I always have displacement behaviors. So never fail. I check my zipper every single time. Like there's certain fidgety things that we just do because, okay, we're gearing up or we don't know what we're doing or whatever. You know, some people twirl their hair. There's different things. So I'm going to replay it and I'm going to talk through it. But what did you notice? Is there anything that stood out to you? There's a couple things, but what did you see?
I saw two definite like tongue flicks. He didn't quite know what was going on and didn't know what was going to happen next, and he kept looking up at the camera. You said it was the boy shaking
Yeah.
his, kind of being like, okay, like what are you doing? And you know
Right.
what
The
I'm.
other people don't stand on there. What's up with
Yeah,
you?
he did do a body shake. I don't know if that means.
Excellent. Yeah. What do you think that means?
I don't know. I don't know
Have
what
you
about.
ever felt like you need to shake off? Have you
Do you
ever
need
heard the
a
phrase,
restart? He needed a
yeah,
restart.
reboot, like shake it off? Shaking it off is something, I mean, we use it as a catchphrase sometimes, like just shake it off. And
Mhm.
it really is, you know, if we would all just take our dog's advice and practice that nice full body shake off, I'll tell you, you feel a lot better. I used to do this with my preschoolers. Come on, get the wiggles out, shake it off. It's something that's really, really, you know, it's such a release of, wow, that was stressful. So we notice that behavior obviously when a dog's wet and they do it and then they shake all their water everywhere. But we also notice it when a dog is really just going, whew, I don't know what's going on here. I'm just going to shake that off because this is weird. You know, so it can be weird, it can be stressful, it can be just they don't know what's going on. Um, Anything else you noticed right in the beginning?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. So I'm going to play it. You did a great job. That was really good. So this big stretch and yawn and checking in. One of the things you mentioned to me here is you talk about the dog looking up. I want to oopsie. My computer has a mind of its own. Hate when that happens. When a dog looks up, okay, and a dog is looking towards a person, a lot of times you'll see this in cameras. They're looking for praise or guidance. They're really and even if they're not, I'd like us to assume that. So here you see Edzo check in and going, what's the plan? What are we doing again? Um, okay, turn away. You're weird. I don't want to pay attention. Just ignore you. Wait, you're still standing there. So but that that checking in is such an important thing, and you see the big yawn there. So again, what just happened? Something weird, something unusual, something odd, something out of the normal context in this dog's world. A lot of these are the behaviors that you will see that are natural, that if you pay attention you can really get, when we're holding a baby, or we're talking to a baby, or we're moving a baby from you know one person to the other, our dog may behave and show some of these things, letting us know that this is indeed something that is causing them a little bit of concern and stress. So I like to notice when a dog checks in or makes eye contact with us and offer praise or guidance. Go get your ball. It's fine. Yep, that's Kelsey. Go do this. Go do that. You're good. It's all good. I've got this. Like, there's so many different things that you can say instead of, a lot of times we go, it's okay. And we might, reinforce that situation or actually excite the dog a little more. But we can say things confidently that help remind us too that we're in control and everything's cool. You've got it. There's no need to worry. Everything's fine. And that's kind of what I like to do, is just that assurance that you've got it. Things are fine. So if you notice some of these things and you notice your dog is making eye contact with you and going, "Hey, what do I do here?" That's a good time to give praise or guidance. Um, all right. So, does your dog know that you're pregnant? I'll pick on you again, Krista. Have you noticed a change in your dog since you've been expecting? Anybody else
Unfortunately,
who's joined us too, who's expecting, if you want to jump in too, you're welcome.
I don't think that he has. I don't, he's, we did just move, so he's been a little
Mhm.
bit more like standoffish and getting used to his surroundings. So I don't know if it's because we just moved into a new house or if it's me, but he's definitely not hanging around me more, that's for sure. Or
Right.
he's
Okay.
he's not interested. No.
Right, and you're 8 months along, so a lot of times what we may see at that point is it's not unusual for people to say that they notice a little more protectiveness or they notice a little clinginess, but it's also really common that we don't notice a thing. And that, our dog is just like do 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 whatever, we're going along. Moving, so many people do it during their pregnancy. I did it I many times. I have 4 kids, and I think I moved 2 or 3 times during pregnancies. Uh, you know, it's there's a lot of things around that. I think what our dogs notice most is a change in our behavior, in our body language, in our scent, how we're moving, how we're breathing, all those different things. You smell different, you move different, you have different moods. During first trimester, it's not unusual for us to be, some of us to be hanging around the toilet a little more than we might normally, and that's odd behavior for our dog. Or maybe we're not getting as many walks in, or we're tired early, or, or different things. And then towards the end, we're breathing differently. I found it very distracting for my dogs. I would not do home visits after a certain point, especially with my fourth pregnancy, after about 7.5 months, because my breathing pattern, my diaphragm just wasn't, I was breathing differently and I was not comfortable, and I certainly was moving differently. So that can really throw off dogs and have them kind of go, wow, something's different. And that something's different for some dogs is enough to make them feel a little insecure or vulnerable or whatever, however we want to word it. But they can change their behavior because other things around them are changing. Um, so, and they're not sure how to respond to that. So paying attention and just being observant. But I don't believe that our dogs understand or know that a baby, you know is on its way, or in the belly, or any of that. Now, it's fascinating to think, can they hear heartbeat, all those things? I've been asked so many questions over the years, and truthfully, I just don't know. But I do know that they're incredibly observant, and they notice everything about what we do. I mean, I'm amazed at how my dog, if I go and pick up the hairspray bottle in my downstairs bathroom, my dogs know I'm leaving the house. I'm getting ready to go somewhere. And how do I know that? Is because they come and give me that look that's like, okay, you leaving? You know? So they notice everything that we do despite, you know, whatever. The other day I have foster kittens right now in the we have a walk-in closet off of my bedroom. And this is how observant and how aware they are of the environment. And I used one of the foster kitten's names, and my dog jumped off the bed and went to that door. So, when people say, do they are they paying attention? They are always paying attention, and they're taking in a lot more than we give them credit for. And they're making associations very quickly, which is really also very important in preparation and thinking about the future with the baby, and how, when we're taking care of the baby, and how, when our dog is there, if there's times that we're having a lot of stress or having a bad moment, that it's really kind of a nice plan to have a place that your dog can go and relax on their own and not be a part of that stressful time. Not not that you will have stressful times, but I know I speak for myself. I had a lot of stressful moments that I really didn't need to share with my dogs. They were neurotic enough on their own without my ups and downs. So having a plan to have them have their own space was really helpful. Um, so what your dog senses through their nose, this is one of those things that we talk about all the different ways as dogs interpret their world. And we know that their olfactory sense is strong, their nose, their smell, they smell so much. So definitely they know there's been a change. But this has led to one of the most commonly recommended suggestions everybody's heard, and that is bring home the blanket from the hospital. And, you know, in a perfect world, it would be this simple, right? So this is based on the idea that if we expose the dog and create a positive association with the scent of baby, we can now kind of build that relationship, et cetera, et cetera. But to truly do what we would need to do as far as conditioning and exposure with this scent and making an association, we'd need repeated exposure. And usually most dads are coming home from the hospital just to put the dog out and going back, if at all they're coming home. So one time exposure really, really, really is not all that important. It makes us feel good, but I also worry about us presenting and creating a big deal about the actual anything to do with the baby. So there's a demonstration that I do, and I'll get it on video and put it on our YouTube. But if we pay a lot of attention to something, then it's guaranteed our dog is now going to pay a lot of attention to that. So when we bring home a new toy and we want them to be excited about it, what do? Hey, look, you got a new bunny, you got a new dog, you got a new toy. Look, 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 look. We get excited. I don't think that's the reaction we really want to be having with our newborn. And I think that it's time we kind of look at it from a different point of view and think of it more as a non-event. And we're going to talk about that. but I want you to look at this video. I did this just because I I get a little frustrated with the whole bring home the blanket, and I wanted people to think about this idea. So this
Newborn
is
baby, family
my sick
dog,
humor
bring home
here.
baby's blankets so the dog can get to know them. What if we did this with all the special people in our lives?
Hi, can I invite Joshua for dinner tonight?
Sure, but what we need to do for Rufus to feel comfortable?
Do we really have to do that, Mom?
This is really weird.
Oh, oh, thank you, honey. Look, this is Josh. Do you like Josh? FamilyPaws.com, building dog and baby relationships beyond the initial sniff of a blanket.
So my point in this is that we have many guests. We bring home many scents, and we don't go through a big production about introducing or doing that. It would just be weird. No other guest needs to send a garment of piece of their clothing ahead of time. And so you know, if there are times that scent can be extremely helpful. For example, if you've got babies that are in NICU for an extended period of time, and you have that continuous exposure, and you can use baby's cry and things like that. But the reality is, it's something that makes us feel good. It's tangible, so everybody does it. But if you look up on YouTube people doing this, introducing, I mean, and doing the blanket idea, you'll notice how their voice is elevated, how they're like, look, you want to meet. And it's increasing the interest of the dog and the excitability, which is, I think, what we want to try to avoid. Um, so it's fine to do, but the expectations that your dog's response to the sniff and the smell of your newborn, which you already, especially during third trimester, really carry the scent of your newborn. But when you do this, the expectation that it's going to show you whether there's going to be harmony and peace with the baby and dog is not really realistic. And we really want people to get past that and think about all the things. This is an ongoing relationship, and it is a relationship that takes time. And there is no one way to do it. So knowing your dog's sensitivities is something else to consider and keep in mind, because many times it's maybe not the baby itself, but it's everything surrounding that baby. It's the equipment, it's the baby carrier, it's the uh, you know, the swing, it's other things that are stimulating and arousing and exciting for your dog. And if they've not been exposed to those things, they may have a different reaction. And a lot of us jump to the conclusion that, of course, it's about the baby, but it may not be. It may be actually about things around the baby. It could be all sorts of things. Our first German Shepherd really taught me a lot about uh, dogs that are obsessed with balls or anything round. If it's round, it must be caught, it must be popped, it must be, so helium balloons were a huge risk. Um, that was something that would get them very excited. Things like an exercise bike. It had wheels, it had round things that moved. You must attack it. Um, Things that I never imagined. And at the time, I had a 3-year-old and 2-year-old little boys, and uh, I adopted this 5-year-old German Shepherd, and I learned very quickly what ball crazy meant, because he popped every single ball in the house within about it was like the ball massacre. I mean, it just happened really quick. And we also lived at the end of a townhouse block where we were so blessed. We lived right by the sand volleyball court and the basketball court. So everybody would bounce their balls as they walked by our house, and we had floor to ceiling windows. So that was fantastic. So, um, but you start to think, wow, this is interesting to my dog. What else might that transfer to? And the more that you can be thinking about that, the better. Because a lot of times people just assume the dog is going for the baby, but here on the right, like, dog could be catching bubbles and by mistake, nip the baby. Or what happened in my house? The dog was going for the balloon and nicked my son. And, you know, it was a preventable situation. It was something that we were responsible for, and we saw it as such. But we have to think, if we don't think like that, then we do think, oh my gosh, my dog just reacted and he bit the kid, out of the blue. So we want to be familiar and always be thinking, what triggers my dog and why? Okay. Um, because some dogs are just, hey, the ball is always about them. But if you're having a baby boy, chances are you're going to have, you know, a lot of balls around the house, and little girls love to play ball too. Beach balls are, really fun. And dogs, you know, if they're used to you playing with them with that type of toy, then that might become very confusing for them. And they're not informed of the game change. They're just not told. So it's up to us to be patient and help them adjust to the change, so that the focus isn't about them when we use certain toys, but it's about the baby, or we want them to behave a certain way when we're playing and engaging with the toy. This is a great situation. I love moms holding baby on her lap, out of the range of the dog, and playing a game that the dog can enjoy. This is a perfect example of inclusion and using an activity that can give the baby something to look at and be fun and joyful, and gives the dog exercise and includes them in activities with the child. So sitting on the lap in a chair versus on the floor is a really great idea, and something we recommend. When we talk about equipment, there's all sorts of funny equipment. This is very common. Okay. This type of equipment has 360-degree accessibility for dogs, cats, and small children. All right. So if you put a baby in here, especially a newborn, um, startle reflex can be interesting. So babies can go from being still and silent and quiet to startling, and their arms jump out and stuff. And so it's really important. It's so important that people remember that, even with, it's a lot of times we're just so grateful the baby's out of our arms for that 5 minutes. But do not think that leaving a baby in something like this, or any kind of contraption or equipment, unsupervised, where your dog has access, is safe. It is not. Babies are unfamiliar to your dog. That's nature. That is the way it is. It's a fact. You must have a plan. And we will follow up this webinar with a homecoming plan for you to go over and think about, what are we going to do when we're in the bathroom, or we need to do this and that. Do not leave your dog in a place where they have access to your newborn and young baby. It's just not a safe idea. Babies' expressions, motions, and the interest of your dog can change from 1 second to the next. And I just highly caution you on that. And that's preventable, because the equipment becomes exciting. So even though your dog might be used to you holding your baby, your dog might be used to seeing the visual of your baby in your arms and in a carrier. But once they start going into different equipment, now you have all the extra stimuli of that equipment around it too. And that can raise interest and curiosity and inquisitiveness in your dog. And dogs explore things in a way that we don't want them to around our newborn and around our baby. So having a plan so that you can make safer choices is a really good idea. Because some dogs really, I will say, just a quick note, some of these bouncers and swings and everything have vibration, and some dogs, and some, especially some cats, I've definitely seen cats that do not like the hum of that vibration. So when they're on vibrate mode and they're on a wood surface or something like that, it really can be irritating even to the animals downstairs. So always have that on some kind of cushy surface, so that just keep that in mind, that that could, those, I know I'm sensitive like that. If the ceiling fan is on downstairs, I can hear it in my bedroom upstairs. There's a hum and it makes me nuts. So I'm like, turn it off. Um, but have some white noise or have something, but those are things to think about, because every little bit of tolerance that is being, your dog has for Madeline Gabriel talks about a dogs having a tolerance checking account, and I love it, because your dog starts out with they've got a nice healthy account, and then throughout the day there are withdrawals, and the vibration sound or something can be a withdrawal from that checking tolerance at checking account, and we want to be making sure we're putting deposits in there by creating easy comfortable situations and paying attention, um, because nobody does well when they're on overdraft, right? So we want to be careful. So babies on their own are changing and they look different. So this is one of the reasons, again, why I believe strongly that dog and baby and dog and toddler, um, as a specialty niche within the dog profession, is essential, because this does not look like a quote kid or an older child. Babies and infants and toddlers move differently, behave differently, and always are changing and evolving. And I don't know many adults who sit like this. This is very, very full. I can't put my feet up like that. I certainly can't suck on my toes. I'll tell you that right now. So, a lot of the things that these cute little babies do are just unusual behavior for a human, because most of our dogs are not exposed to this visual all the time. And so, we have to really keep that in mind and remember, the baby's on the floor. uh, you know, don't expect that your dog is going to um, adjust easily. Have a plan for how those situations are going to go, and hire someone to help you with this. This is one of those areas that somebody can be very helpful if they specialize in dog and baby interaction. Um, Changes in appearance can be very concerning. So some dogs have already shown that they have concern with changes in appearance during pregnancy. But kids love to dress up. Kids also are required to wear all sorts of gear. So even when you put sunglasses on, or you put a hat on, or they're getting ready to go out in the snow with their snowsuit, and they look like a giant fluffy running squeaky toy that has all sorts of things hanging like scarves and stuff. These are things that we have to take into consideration, that our dog may not necessarily recognize your child. And just as your baby is naturally going through changes physically and developmentally, your baby also is going to go through fun changes where they're going to want to dress up and do things, or wear a bike helmet, or wear sunglasses, or the combo. Um, so we have to pay attention to those changes in appearance and how it can impact our dog. I know my son had really fluffy, longer hair, and then for the baseball team, they did a fundraiser, and got his head shaved, and our shepherd was like, "Wait a minute, that is just not right. Hey, you smell normal, but," or I've come out of the shower and had a foster dog who reacted because I had a towel on my head, and my hair's very blonde, and maybe I had a navy blue towel on my head, and the dog's like, "What? Wait, that's not right." So if you have a dog that's reactive to sunglasses, hats, and things like that, um, definitely that is an alert to you that you need to pay attention to the changes in appearance that your child may have, and know that you might have to take a couple steps back and really sit and guide your dog through that visual, with some positive reinforcement, positive association. What we don't want to do is go no and correct them when they're inquisitive, right? Because that only really proves to your dog that they have reason to be concerned. That when that child looks like that mom gets evil or acts out. So we want to create a nice situation around it, and we want to teach our dog what the desirable behavior is. And that's consistently what we want to do is remember our dogs need our guidance through this. They don't know how to respond. They don't have the apps that say, hey, it's going to be Halloween and your kid's going to dress up with a costume and look a little weird. They don't get that. So we have to remind them of this and help them along the way. Um, so, what is just daily routines could be very spooky or uncomfortable for your dog. I mean, when you think about a kid in the backpack, with dangling feet. And a lot of times, I don't know about, my child always would push up on my lower back to hoist himself up higher on my head and love to twist his hands in my hair and stuff like that. But anyway, the backpack looks like a two-headed human to a dog from a certain angle. I mean, that's weird, right? We don't see that often. So, and it's wiggling nonetheless. So this attachment on a parent and on our trusted adult now has this wiggly beast on the back that they don't know, it could be a real serious concern. And some dogs might not know how to handle that. So it's really great to gradually expose your dog to these kind of visuals and not just some dogs don't have any reaction at all. But the ones that do, if you step back and go, I wonder why that happened. I'm curious. I'm curious about that. Um, excuse me. If you come from a place of curiosity versus frustration, you're probably going to be in a better situation to go, all right, I got this. We can figure this out and I can help it make it more comfortable. The dog on the right is playing ball. I love that dad's out there playing ball with his dog. Um, I would prefer that the baby's on the other side, but that's being very picky on my end because this dog is obviously very interested in the ball that he's kicking, and that's fantastic. But I wouldn't want him to miss. But holding a baby during a game that you normally play with your dog, again, it's a change in appearance. It's a whole nother visual for your dog. Some dogs, they don't care. Other dogs, they care. So knowing your dog is really important and just planting that. So the other bit of advice that's really highly recommended, and I definitely encourage people to do this to help themselves as they prepare, is playing baby sounds, baby noises and crying and things like that. Um, but what I want you to keep in mind is that while you're playing those things and while you might play a CD or YouTube or whatever. Terry Ryan has a great CD that has baby sounds. um legacycanine.com, I think it is, but if you Google Terry Ryan, you'll find her sounds good CDs. And one of the things that is really helpful is to condition yourself when your dog shows. First of all, you want to know what your dog looks like when they show inquisitiveness, when they're curious, when they're excited. And this is an opportunity to do prior to the arrival of your baby when there's all sorts of complex stimuli going on at one time. So, having an opportunity to practice with the sound on its own of a baby cry and the different noises babies make can really be great practice for you in knowing how to respond with your dog. So, for example, if you get used to saying to your dog, I've got this, go lay down, go get your ball, go to Matt, it's good, that's Kelsey, that's baby, that's whatever, and find a mantra for yourself that is calming for you. That is the best thing you can do to help your dog. Um, I don't think it's realistic to think that playing unfamiliar baby cries are going to take away the interest and inquisitiveness of your newborn homecoming experience. The thing is, babies' cries trigger all sorts of other things to happen. For lactating moms, it is essential. It's the best wireless communication there is. So baby cries equal mom's hormones go crazy. And that in itself can lead to mom becoming anxious, frustrated, or, um, you know, letdown, change in smell, all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of things that this cry is associated with that we really can't prepare for ahead of time. We can prepare ourselves for how we respond in those moments when we're feeling stressed, though. And practicing that is a really good idea. So, doing that is great exposure for your dog, but it's also really great for you to become conditioned as to how you want to respond when your dog shows inquisitiveness or interest without being harsh, without being corrective, or punishing your dog for being just a little confused. They don't know. They really don't know. Expect your dog to be reactive, not reactive. Expect your dog to be inquisitive and curious about your newborn when they cry. Just expect it. If at any time that makes you uncomfortable, or you have fear, or you have a reaction, please don't hesitate to call us on our hotline. Um, it's 877-347-2407. Or did I get that wrong? 87, maybe Lisa, maybe you can look that up. 877, that's too much information in my head. It's on the website. We get a lot of calls from people who are going, "Oh, our dog, he's doing this, he just won't settle down." It's not unusual for us to get calls on the hotline from new families coming home and who are just a little concerned. And we can do a lot to ease that concern and either refer you to someone immediately or give you help and guidance in that moment. Um, so that you can know, hey, it's okay. Well, video does a lot to help us in this time. Um, if I don't know why I'm blanking on the 877-247-3407, I believe is what it is, but Lisa will confirm that for all of us.
It's in the notes.
Thank you. Okay, good. That's the first time I forgot the hotline number. I can't even believe it. That tells you where my brain is. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Now, if you do have special circumstances and you're going to be in the hospital for a period of time, and actually we do use your particular baby's cry, if there is stress, then we do break things down into kind of basic exposure. But that, again, you can use the help of one of our professionals to guide you through that. If after you come home, your dog is extremely stressed or reactive to your baby's cry, then we can work to isolate some different things and really use recordings of your baby's cry to help us in that process. Um, Using your actual baby. So I'm going to play this cute little video because there's no noise. All right. But even without the noise, I want you to think about this. Whoa. Well, that was quick. Love when that happens. Okay. I spared you guys the screaming. Okay. This is not a kid. This is an infant. This is a baby. And that image alone, those actions alone without the sound are triggering for many dogs. We need to be very careful where we're changing our babies and what we're doing and how we're doing it. But this newborn is definitely having a moment, and those moments are stressful for everybody. And it's not fair for us to expect that they're not going to be stressful or cause some kind of reaction with our dog. So we have to be prepared for that. So, what works for your dog? How does your dog seek your attention? This is one of those things that a lot of people say, "Oh, our dog's jealous. He does this, that, and the other." A lot of times as adults, we do things with our dogs that are perfect when it's just us adults in the house. But once we have a baby, especially a newborn, those things may no longer be safe or appreciated. And that, again, is a game change for our dog because what worked for them before all of a sudden gets you really cranky or gets you irritated. So your dog becomes a bit panicky because all our dogs really want to do is make us happy. So when what's worked for them before to make you happy and give them attention and invite them and all that, when it doesn't work, your dog really starts getting creative about, what, the whole repertoire of things that they might have done in the past that has gotten your attention. Now, dogs also will work for negative attention. It doesn't matter. It's attention from you, and that's what they want. So if they pee on the floor and that gets you to get up and stop tending to the baby and, give them a little attention, whether it's negative or not, it worked. So we have to really think about what are the things our dogs are currently doing. Are those things going to be safe? Does your dog get attention from you in a way now that's safe and going to continue to be safe and appreciated once baby arrives? And if not, then we need to rethink some of those things. Um, and we need to provide our dog with alternatives, because some of their attention seeking behaviors are really cute, but they may not be really cute when we have a baby that is also seeking our attention. So when you're sitting on the floor and during playtime, and even though right now it's hard to imagine a baby at 9 months that's pulling up and standing and cruising and doing these things, but when your dog is all about them, it's really difficult to, have in that moment an opportunity to teach them a new behavior. It's better to do this now and think, is this going to be a safe, comfortable, and appreciated behavior in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months? And what other behavior might be more appropriate, more appreciated? Maybe going when we sit on the floor, I want you to go to mat. Um, I've definitely done with some of my families that having an adult sit on the floor is the cue for the dog to go to their mat or for the dog to lay down. Different things like that can be a really great opportunity and can set you up for success so that you're able to include your dog and you're less frustrated. Providing them with enrichment is essential. So when people say, "Hey, what can we do? We want to come over and help you." Hey, yeah, that's great. I have a whole list of freezer goodies that you can make for my dog, or things like that. It's people want to help in those early days, and that's great. But having things for your dog to do not only makes you feel fantastic, if you can provide your dog with the most delicious frozen Kong in the world, that makes you feel good. Just, I know for me as a mom, if I make a meal that I know, well, it's very rare that all six of us are going to enjoy. That's like impossible. But should it happen, should it magically happen, gosh, is it satisfying. So we want to make things and provide things that are enjoyed by those we love. And having a freezer full of frozen goodies that you can give to your dog in those moments that you're busy or don't want your dog underfoot really can be satisfying for you and really helps you to feel like you have met their need. And it takes away some of that mommy guilt and guilt that sometimes we may feel. Oh, I didn't get to do this with them today. Yeah, but they had one heck of a Kong and they got to do a good, you know, snuffle mat or whatever it is. There's so many enrichment toys out there. And if you need anything in particular, always check the Family Paws Facebook page because we're always posting different unique things on there that a lot of our educators recommend. So um, it's funny, Oliver got up at the same time last time. I think the word KONG might have triggered that. Um, so the other thing to consider is our play style because many of us when we are not thinking about it, we're hanging out on the floor with our dogs. We're playing sitting on the floor equals playtime. Remember, when a baby's on the scene, sometimes I switch that up. That sitting on the floor is the cue for the dog to go lay down, or that I want them to lay down right away. But if they're used to playing on the floor, then it's going to be extraordinarily unusual when we don't want them to engage while we're playing with this one on the floor. And that can lead and often leads to parents going, "Oh my gosh, they're so obnoxious. All they do is get in between us. They're so jealous and everything else." Well, you're right. They might have an issue because they're very confused. And that is very difficult for some dogs. So we want to be careful about that. And we want to think about our current play style and is that going to be helpful or is it going to be a problem and what can we do now to change that so that our dogs are expecting a different behavior. Because, and this is also extremely important, our babies are constantly learning. I always say every moment's a learning moment, and it's true. It's a teachable moment. Um, Newborns can imitate your mouth expression, so when you open your mouth wide, they will open their mouth wide. Those kinds of things, which is great for breastfeeding and really, really, really helpful. But as babies grow, they're constantly watching, observing, and taking in what we're doing. So it's really important and essential that whatever you're doing now as interaction and affection with your dog is um, is something that you can visualize your child doing. Um, if it's not going to be a comfortable interaction, such as hugging your dog or crawling up to them and giving them a hug or smooches or whatever, then maybe you want to rethink what it is you're modeling in front of them. Same is true for types of behavior and training techniques. We want to be careful that anything we do with our dog is going to be safe for our child to do because they are watching everything. And it's not unusual for a 3-year-old to imitate what their adult did to the dog. And that can really, if there's a lot of punishment based training or correction based training or negativity, that can really, really, really show through when a child is able to carry out and imitate what the parent has done. And we want to be very careful about that. We want to use baby friendly and safe techniques. So these are just some of the I'm going to speed through this stuff. These are just some of the things that you can do. There's so many different helpful behaviors that you can teach your dog. But cues for cooperation is really essential. Having our dog be able to participate because they're able to follow and they know the expectation of a cue, sit, down, place, whatever it is, this can make life so much easier. So the more your dog knows, the better. If your dog only knows 1 or 2 as a default, that's fine too. Take it where it is now. Don't feel like, you've got to give your dog a whole repertoire. They don't need, a dictionary filled with cues. But if they have 1 or 2 default things that you can count on every time, that's fantastic. And you're already ahead of the game. So it's just important that you and your dog speak the same language about the behavior expected. So one of the things that I like to do is practice. Now, this sounds like a ridiculous, crazy idea. I'm never known for that. But a lot of people recommend carrying a doll to practice for the arrival of baby. And that, sure, you can do that. What I found was that carrying a baby doll, there was no weight to it. Like a lot, unless you get a weighted baby or you're creative and crafty and can make a weighted baby. I chose to do something different. Um, and whether if your dog is not hypersensitive to the crinkly sound of water bottles, then this is the perfect exercise for you. If your dog is sensitive to the sound of crinkly water bottles, then you may want to use rice sack or grass seed or something like that. But what I like to do is put 7 to 10 pounds in a pillowcase. I like it to be wobbly and move a little bit. So I used to use rice, but we want to make sure it's something that you can actually utilize down the road. So, and I want to be holding something that has this weight and is wiggly and moves differently and uniquely. I want to talk to it. I want to pass it back and forth to my partner. I want to be able to give my dog cues and see if they will follow direction while my hands are full with this weighted item and see, do they react when I pass this interesting item to somebody else? Are they interested? Can they follow my cues and direction when I'm not using my hands or when I'm just saying sit down? What happens when I talk to it? Does my dog get overly excited? Are they very confused? What's going on? So then over time in practicing this and sitting on the couch and leaning back on the couch, because believe me, you're going to be sitting on the couch, maybe nursing, and you don't want your dog to not listen when you ask them to sit or lay down. So practicing this with your hands free is a really good opportunity. And adding the weight can be really good. For dads, I would say give them a backpack, let them wear it in the front, put 20 pounds in there. No, just kidding. But that seriously, a backpack in the front for dads can be really helpful in experiencing kind of the pregnancy situation, experience. So letting them see that. There's lots of different things to do, but the idea is to be able to give your dog cues, have them listen to you no matter what position you're in, and despite the distraction. And then gradually over time, we add higher value stuff to the pillowcase. Now, I know it seems like a ridiculous thing, but don't knock it till you tried it. 10 water bottles works really, really well. It's wobbly and wiggly. And a lot of my families have really, really loved this exercise, and it's helped them quite a bit. Because this is what your future is. You're going to be doing all sorts of things, and your dog's going to be hanging around, but your focus is going to be elsewhere. And that's unusual for your dog. They're not used to that. So, helping them to adjust and transition into this stage can be helpful. Using separation, if your dog has not been um, able to be separated in your house while you're in another room or while you're on the other side of a gate, now is the time to make sure that you're practicing this. This is one of the number one reasons many people um, decide they can't handle things is once their baby starts crawling or moving or toddling, um, the, you know, and they can't separate the dog. They get frustrated because their dog is whining and crying and has never been separated while the parent's on the other side of a barrier. So being able to either have a place cue or have using a gate, using an indoor success station, a tether. We've got a handout on our resources page called Success Stations. Doing that kind of thing is essential, and practicing it often is something I would begin immediately to help your dog be comfortable and happy on the other side. And I always begin with including nice, yummy treats and high value stuff. Um, and again, that's something that you can begin as soon as possible. It's important all dogs are comfortable being separated a little bit, especially if you have multiple dogs. Here's a great example of that. I know many families love these play yards. They can be really helpful for the dog or the child, but great separation. And again, having a dog who's able to go and relax while you're engaged with someone else, sitting on the floor. Imagine that, you know? Think about it. I go into many homes, and if someone sits on the floor, that's it. The dog's all over them. Okay, so these are things that you want to be able to do. Manners allows you to include your child, including your dog, your dog, including your dog in daily routines and activities is something that's essential to developing a familiarity bond. We don't want to separate our dog. We want to be able to include them. We want them to see the different developmental stages and changes as they're happening so that our dog builds a sense of comfort and trust and learns to rely on you. So these are times especially that those check-ins with you are times that you need to be there and accessible and ready to give your dog some praise or guidance. But it is very important if your dog has manners that they're able to be included in some of your daily routines safely. All right. Okay, so I'm going to post this up on our YouTube. It's just some examples of manners, some different things you can do. I'm going to go through this. I told you it's a 2-hour presentation. I'm really sorry. I know I'm keeping you over. Third trimester, there's some things that are really important to think about. Making sure that your dog is up to date on all sorts of medical things is really important, especially for our senior dogs, making sure that they have everything they need for comfort and nothing new is brewing with them. Um, Getting supplies. There's so many different resources available now to get things easily delivered right to your doorstep, at least in most regions. Um, Planning ahead about caretaker, who that's going to be, and having a backup plan. A lot of us don't think about the backup plan, but sometimes things fall through and you just never know. So you don't want to go into labor and then all of a sudden realize that your pet sitter is down with the flu. So having several plans in mind so that you know your dog is cared for. Um, Puzzle toys, having a good stash of those, stocking up on them. I like to also take advantage of sales after a holiday. Most pet boutiques or stores will have sales on all sorts of toys that are related to the holiday theme. And I tuck them away for a rainy day. And that's a good idea as well. And then creating and developing your homecoming plan, which we will share with you after. So, this is my thought. Everybody talks about, and you're going to be very disappointed if you want to know how to introduce your dog to baby, because I'm not going to share that with you. I don't think we need to be introducing our dog to baby. I think that our dogs are already introduced to our baby while especially during third trimester through scent. But I think that we want to downplay um, what most people think of introduction. Go to YouTube and look at introducing our dog to baby. What people are doing is raising excitement and drawing more attention to the baby. Your baby is your precious newborn, and that is about you and your family, the human family. Your dog does not need to be excited about this or overly interested or overly exposed. We actually don't want to do that. We do want to include your dog in a calm way. So think about, how does your dog respond? It's kind of like when you bring your pizza home. Do you want your dog overly excited about that? Are we going to draw attention, go, look, buddy, it's Domino's. Woohoo! We're going to have pizza. Woohoo! And introduce them to it? No, we're not. We're going to calmly have our pizza. We're going to give our dog less attention for being obnoxious if they choose to be. And we're going to show them what we want them to do. You bring groceries home all the time. We don't go, hey, look, it's beef. Look, we brought chicken home today. We don't want to do those things. And the more excitement we pay to this new baby, the more excited our dog will get. One of the most common things that I see, and a characteristic of quote introductions, is the excitement tone, and a lot of people do it. I urge you to Google and you or YouTube videos of introducing dog and baby. I want, and you tell me if you see differently. We don't want to make this a huge event for our dog. We want to downplay it. We don't want to draw tons of attention to our newborn. Now, that said, we do want to include them, but in a safe and comfortable way. But your baby is for you. We want our dogs to be relaxed. How does your dog react to changes in the environment? I mean, when you bring a new couch home, I don't think you have a celebration introducing it to your dog. Look, it's the new couch. Yeah. Maybe you do. I don't know. I didn't. But we want it to be kind of casual and nonchalant. It's really about the people and not about the dog. Your dog is able to smell your baby, gosh, from third trimester on, but seriously, does not need to be up close and personal. And when we think of introductions, we think of a physical greeting and meeting. And that is not safe or what we want to be encouraging with newborns. Um, Over time, with exposure, when our dogs are settled and relaxed, obviously they will have opportunities to come close to you while you're holding your baby over time when it feels comfortable and safe. But what I find is most moms truly are anxious when their dog approaches, and they feel a lot of relief when I say, there's no need for quote introduction. This is your homecoming time. This is a homecoming phase. This is time for you and your partner to settle in, bond with the baby, and for you to recover. This is not about your dog. Yes, your dog is there. So have those frozen food dispensing toys and activities, but don't make this a big event for your dog. Just like you don't when you bring home furniture or other things, this is just something new. Over time, your dog will observe and be included and get to see the usual ins and outs and daily routines that you do with your baby just by being around, but they don't need to be highlighted and included as a big deal. So take that pressure off of yourself. Many families feel so much stress thinking about, all right, well, we need to let them sniff and get really close and in their face. No, that is not what we would recommend. In fact, just the opposite. So please relax, take your time. It's really okay if your dog is away while you take the time to recover. What we want is you, especially our moms and dads, to be rested, to do the best they can with their bonding. You don't get this time again. And it's really essential for your mental health and your physical health to get yourself through recovery and to relax into whatever routine, whether you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding or whatever you choose to do. It's really important that you guys develop that normalcy as it is going to be, in your eyes. So, no pressure there. Try to take the expectations off of that quote introduction. And this is an easy homecoming phase. All right. It's over time. Just think about this. Your baby is probably if we brought in, so when I go into people's homes, I bring in this kitty with me, not a live cat, but I have just recently gone through introducing having kittens in my house and having my dogs get acclimated with them. Um and we didn't do a lot of crazy stuff, and we didn't hold the cat and let them sniff it and all that. We did a lot of activities with the dogs to distract them and to have them be successful with other things, and the kitten was just a sideshow. And that worked out really well. It was just something that was there while the dog was earning good treats and enjoying something high value and fun. So you know, our babies look, you saw that newborn. They look very unusual to our dogs. And it's really important that we don't draw a huge amount of attention to it and raise the excitement and interest level that they're already going to possibly have. So, calm. I also really love using carriers in the beginning because it wraps the baby nice and snug and close to mom, especially for skin to skin and things like that. It's really great, hides the limbs and things like that. And a lot of moms feel a lot of comfort when they're holding their baby in a carrier really close to them. And that helps them feel a little more secure about their dog being around. I like my dog to drag a leash or have a success station of some sort. Someone else can be holding the dog's leash as long as the dog is on a harness or not any kind of uh, aversive collar. We really want our dog, meaning prong or choke, definitely not e-collars. We don't approve of any of that. It's really important that this is a calm, relaxed experience, and that may take a couple days before you're able to do that, and that's just fine. For me, one of my dogs, it took a week. So please know you don't have to rush this process because you have plenty of time. You have plenty of time, but you need to think ahead. And you do need to think about where is your dog going to be when. And this is going to be the homecoming exercise that we hand give to you after class. And first days, again, that mantra I told you about. I've got this. You're good. It's all good. That's Kelsey. It's my business, not yours. You do your doggy thing. I got this. This is my mommy thing. You do your doggy thing. Whatever makes you feel good and calms you down and makes you feel more confident versus it's okay. It's all right. Don't worry. Try to think of something confident. Try to think of something that's good and healthy for you, your self-talk. This is a great example of a dog on a tether on a bed. An indoor tether inside the house. There's no barrier there other than the tether. They can get up, walk around, move a little bit, but they just, mom can get up and walk away. And that's a good situation. I loved using indoor success stations and tethers. The less big deal you make of it, the more your dog's going to relax and feel comfortable being included. The more manners they have, the more you're able to include them because you practice ahead of time. And this can be really great. Then you build up, and our next course, Dogs and Toddlers, takes you through how to do more inclusion. We have a webinar on the Family Paws YouTube channel that's all about inclusion in family dogs, the importance of it. Um, and again, we want full awake adult supervision. Just because the babies are in some type of equipment or settled does not mean that your dog needs to have access. Your dog, you must always have a plan, especially during the newborn phase and the young baby phase, for where that dog is going to be. If you have multiple dogs, you have to have multiple plans. Um, so it's really important that you continue to have your bond. I know it's very common advice for people to recommend that when baby naps ignore your dog, and give your dog tons of attention when baby's awake. And I say, well, in theory, that might be good. But as a parent of 4 kids, I've got to tell you, it's extraordinarily hard to pay to tend to my newborn and give my dog attention or give them, I mean, yeah, I can give them a Kong or something good to do. But I really believe that one of the problems that we have where dogs lose their homes is because the connection between mom and their dog has been broken. And I think it's essential that mom and dad continue to have their alone time and their special time with their dogs. So if that means cuddling during nap time, if that means grooming during nap time, or that means whatever it means, it is really important to me that both parents are definitely indeed having alone time with their dogs. This is healthy for them. It is a great way to get increased oxytocin. It is really wonderful and important to establish and maintain the bond that they have and share. So I would like families to continue to have that alone time. And sometimes that has to be during the time the baby is not around or is napping. And that is perfectly fine. You have my permission to do that, and I encourage it. Be sure that you have a support system. Becoming a new parent is a huge life change. Whether you've been working or doing so many things, and now all of a sudden, all your goals are is to put your clothes on. All right. Have a moment in the bathroom by yourself. That is normal. That is what a lot of us experience and are shocked by. Please provide yourself with a lot of support systems. There's an awesome website that's really great to support families during the postpartum phase, and that's Postpartum Support International. Check it out. There's great information. There's lots of groups. Do make sure that you have support. If you're depleted as far as your basic needs, you will not be able to meet the needs and you'll feel incapable of meeting the needs of others. And a lot of times our dogs get the short end of the stick there and end up in a shelter or rehomed. We never think we're going to do it, but I have seen many of my educators go through this. You must be sure to refuel and build up your support system. So we will also be sending to you our parent me time exercise that I highly encourage you to fill out. Think about ways that you can enjoy time together as a couple, but also with your baby and your dog. A lot of us have this beautiful vision of us walking with our dog and our baby in a stroller. And I'm here to say that that's great when you have another adult with you, but it may not be so practical when you're on your own with your baby. It might just be enough to get out of the house. That might be a miracle in itself. But strolling with your dog and baby together could be a total disaster and anxiety provoking situation. Your baby might decide they hate the stroller. Your dog might decide that now that they're walking with the baby and everybody's coming over to say hi, that they really don't like strangers coming up to you. There's all sorts of things. So consider if a stroll is going to be a sanity stroll or or not so much. Oh, if you have another adult to go with you, fantastic. That person can be in charge of the dog while the other person tends to the baby. But if you're walking on your own, I almost rather that moms, unless they have to for bathroom breaks, it's really nice if they have that time alone with their baby. Um, but everybody's environment and situation is different. If you need to learn and you do need to walk with your dog with the stroller, always remember safety. Remember your safety things. Never, ever, ever tie your dog to the stroller. Please do not ever do that. That is not a good idea. So, believe it or not, after those first months, life sort of gets sort of kind of back to normal. I guess I'm still waiting. I don't know. But it does. It's a new normal and it's a beautiful new normal. And you will be able to play with your dog. You will be able to multitask while you hold a baby. It's amazing what you're able to do and how you develop 8 arms all of a sudden that you never knew you had. You're going to be able to juggle. You just don't even know the skills that are awaiting you. um, so you will become a multitasking genius, and that will include your dog. It doesn't feel like that sometimes in the beginning, but it will get there. And we're here to support you. If you have a time that you're feeling just stressed or overwhelmed, you're so not alone. That's what most of the people who call our hotline are experiencing. They just don't feel they can do it. And that's okay. We're here to help you and say, we're going to hold your hand and help you through that. You're not alone in this. We're going to do this together. And certainly, if it's a situation we have concerns about, we're going to be honest about that. So you've got resources. Reach out. It's up to you to pick up the phone and reach out to us. We're here for you. I promise. But most importantly, this is your special time. Enjoy this time. Enjoy it. You don't get to redo this time. It is really, really amazing and special, and there's a lot of learning that goes along. This is a growing period for you and your partner, as well as your baby and your dog. And it's an amazing time. So seize the opportunities there and really enjoy it. But be patient and kind and fair to yourself, and be sure that you're taking good care of you too. Bottom line, I'll say it, be dog aware and supervise and have a lot of fun. That's why we have dogs in our lives. It's to enrich us, it's to have fun, it's to relax us. And most of the time, that is the case. But if you are having a bad moment, bad time, or you're having any kind of concerns, you now know where you can reach out to. We'll be here to hear whatever is going on and give you some support. So I want to thank you guys for putting up with this very long presentation. I did it almost under 2 hours, and I'm really sorry I kept you over. But it is really important, and I hope that it was helpful, and I hope everybody's still awake. I will be sure to follow up with you with the handouts. But I'm going to stop screen sharing and stop the recording. And if anybody has any questions, and I totally understand if you have to go, I kept you over and I apologize. But if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to ask, or you can email me. Either way, it's totally